Mic'd Up With Monty, and we are here today with our special guest. Tell the people who you are.
Hello, my name is Camille Smith. I'm a chemical engineer, social entrepreneur, and content creator based here in Philly.
Yes, let's get right into it. Can you explain what STEM is and how important it is for you to be a young African-American woman in this field?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I studied chemical engineering in school, and it's super important as a black woman to be in this field because unfortunately it was not made for us. So just the fact that I graduated with my Bachelor of Science, I actually became 7% of bachelor's degrees are awarded to black students for STEM majors. So representation is super, super important in the field.
Yes, that's why you are here today on my platform, because when I first met you, shout out to Morgan Flowers, I love you, that's my sis. Yeah, so it was funny because I was, I follow Morgan and I always see you like she reposted you. Yeah. And then when I seen, like, I started going deeper, I'm like, yeah, the people have to know, because this right here is a living testimony, let you know that you can do anything.
For real.
You can do anything. This young lady said that she is 7%.
Right.
7%.
Right.
And she's a content creator.
Right.
So not only is she making her dream come true in her profession, she has her own outside life as well.
Yes.
We're going to get into all that. You know, I'm excited right now. When/how did you become interested in even becoming in the STEM field? Is that how you say it?
Yeah. So the STEM field. So it's interesting. When I was in middle school, I was good at every single subject except for science. So like I was super into social studies. I'm still a low-key history nerd, but like social studies, English, Spanish, any class that I had to take, I was super good at it. But science just like never really clicked, and I really didn't like that. Like I didn't like that it didn't come easily for me. And I was actually having a conversation with my dad recently that in 7th grade, in my public school, we had like academic, which was like kind of like the entry level, then we had like intermediate, and then we had like honors. And I was in academic science in 7th grade, and you can, at the end of the year, your teacher will recommend you either for the same level or like up a level, depending on how you do. And my dad actually overrode or like overwritten what my 7th grade professor recommended me for, which was also academic in 8th grade. So he was like, okay, we're gonna like give it a shot, I'm gonna put you in honors in 8th grade, and that was it. And it's annoying because he knows for a fact that like he's the reason that I got into science.
Shout out to you, Dad.
Yeah, love you forever. But yeah, so I got into it because again, it wasn't easy for me. And then once I started taking those harder science classes, and I had a lot of good science professors along the way, now I'm here. I'm a chemical engineer now.
We are here today. Where did you go to school? What did you actually study? Explain the studying of science and engineering and how it's combined together.
Okay, so I went to Villanova University. I graduated in 2020, so while I was there, I studied chemical engineering. I was also on a pre-med track as well, which a lot of people don't know about.
So good.
And then I had double minors in biochemical engineering and ethics as well. So I was like overloading every single semester. Wouldn't recommend, honestly, but that's what I did. In middle school, chemistry and biology were like my main, sciences. But once you actually get into your core classes in engineering, like you take a lot of your gen eds your freshman year, so that's like chemistry, calculus 1, and there's a few others, but like my sophomore year is when you get into classes like thermodynamics or like fluid mechanics, and those are all like very large words for like relatively simple concepts that everyone like deals with on a regular basis, but they're more, I'll say, niche to engineering. So science and engineering most definitely go together, and that's why I try to cater my content towards STEM students and professionals.
I love that for you. Now, what is your current career/profession, and how do you use it in your interest in STEM on a day-to-day basis?
So currently I work as an upstream process development scientist. I work in a pharmaceutical company.
Here you go. Be the girl.
I'm crying.
Yes.
And it's cool because again, so chemical engineers can go into a bunch of different things. I think that's why I liked the versatility of it. Again, pharmaceuticals is like really just one route, or biotech is just one route. But everything that I do on a day-to-day basis after my job is engineering. So like I work with mammalian cells, or like CHO cells, Chinese hamster ovary cells, if people know what that is. But like process control loops, like feedback loops, thermodynamics, so like heat transfer, if you have like, a jar of liquid, if you like heat it to a certain extent, there's going to be a gradient initially, and then over time it'll actually get to that set point or that temperature that you put it at. So everything that I learned in school, I actually use on a day-to-day basis, which is kind of crazy. I wasn't expecting that when I actually I graduated.
What do you like most about your current job, and what do you find most challenging?
What do I like most? I would say that it's a balance between you're able to grow and become more and more competent in the area.
Good.
So like as you like gain experience, like that will be helpful to future problems that you have to solve. But there always is going to be like problems to solve, if that makes sense. So like there's a level of you're able to gain competency and like, you know, be more seasoned in the area, but like you're always troubleshooting stuff all the time. So I feel like for me personally, I get very bored like very quickly, and like my job does not allow me to get bored because there's always something to figure out all the time. So, but also that's also the most challenging thing as well, because you can like feel like you've learned so much, but there's still again something that you have to. Your cells, I work with cells which are like living things, so like just like people, they can just kind of like blindside you with stuff, like our cells can do that as well. So like you'll expect something to happen and then something else will completely happen, and you have to figure out why that happened and then keep moving. So yeah.
Where do y'all get cells from? A refrigerator? Like, no, honestly.
No.
Like you go to work, right? So do you make it? Like, explain.
Okay, so again, the cells we use are called Chinese hamster ovary cells. They're CHO cells. We use those because they're the most similar to human cells. And I'll say there's multiple groups before us that actually like cell engineer them to create a medication. So once it gets to me, we're actually like optimizing it. So basically, I'm gonna break it down. I'm like a scientific babysitter. So when you think about babysitting a kid, right, like you have to make sure that they eat, you have to make sure they're at a certain temperature to make sure that they're like, you know, being a productive little human. Same thing with cells. So if I'm not making sure that they're at a certain temperature, if I don't feed them, like they won't produce the medication that I need them to.
Oh, wow,
you know, so we're like optimizing a process to make sure it produces as much as possible, but we have to check on them every day. Again, very similar to like babysitting. So I don't know, again, it's very cool. There's like a lot of consistency in it, but at the same time, because it's a living thing, stuff happens like all the time that you're like not like ready for. So it's cool.
Now, what advice would you give to a young girl who's interested in pursuing STEM activities or careers?
Wow. Follow me. No, but for real, I would say ask questions like super, super early. I think a lot of times students get very discouraged because they want to do everything by themselves, which like, don't get me wrong, you know, I also kind of fall into that trap as well. But introduce yourself to your professors, tell them, you know, your background, where you come from, and ask questions early, because most of the time other students in the class have the exact same question, but they're just afraid to ask it.
So good.
And a lot of the curriculum is like sequential, so if you don't understand like one topic, you're not going to get the next topic, and then it'll continue to like snowball, and then it gets really overwhelming. So I would just say ask questions very early, very often, and also just find like your people. Like I have, like, it was low-key trauma bonding, but like the people that I stuck around with in college like really helped me through, not just like academically, but just like emotionally and mentally as well. So like find people, you know, that either come from similar backgrounds or that you feel that you can learn from, and like kind of hold on to them like throughout your academic career.
Okay, that was good. Yeah. Can you describe a typical day in your shoes from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to bed at night? I'm trying to think, do I want to know a Monday? Because Monday's like the start of your day, or do I want to know a Sunday, the beginning of your week? Let's do a Sunday and a Monday.
Okay. I'll say an ideal Sunday, because I feel like recently I have not been in my routine. Sundays I usually do like to set myself up for the rest of the week. So usually I do like to work out at least once. I do like solid core, like Pilates type stuff.
Obviously, she been consistent,
no,
y'all.
You've
been consistent. I'm
Get to it.
Consistent.
So usually like at least one workout. So solid core. I like to go to like the grocery store. I usually go to Trader Joe's because there's one like relatively close to the studio that I go to. Meal prep for the week. I try to prep 3 different meals, 2 servings each, so I can do lunch and dinner. And then usually, because I like do content, then I also have a separate organization, STEM Social, which I'm sure we'll talk about. You know, making sure that I have, you know, the content prepared for the week, scheduling out content, responding to DMs. So because I create a lot of STEM content, a lot of people will reach out to me and like, ask questions and things. So yeah, just trying to like catch up. Because like during the week it's usually like super busy for me, so Sundays I try to be as prepared for the week as possible. Mondays, definitely going to work, so I usually go to work 4 out of the 5 days a week, depending on if I have an experiment or not. So definitely start at work. I usually always have like some sort of activity, like whether it's like yesterday I went to like the Philadelphia.
Yeah, I love that. How'd you get into that? Well, we will get to that later.
I don't know. They emailed me, but
you like between content creator and having this big ass job that you have, like you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Consistency is right here, like
thank you.
Consistency. Everything you're doing is paying off. So we going. I don't mean to interrupt y'all, but I'm gonna get into her STEM social. I'm gonna get into because this question is for me. How the hell do you get paid sponsorships? But I'm gonna let her finish. But
right.
we definitely gonna dig into that too.
But yeah, work basically, and then after will be. I also have been trying to do like never miss a Monday, so also trying to work out on Mondays as well. And then again like content stuff. So I also have a podcast as well, the Being Black podcast, and hopefully we'll relaunch on September 1st. And just trying to keep up with emails and DMs and friends and family and yeah.
Well, you're doing an amazing.
And I also like to go to sleep early. So with
all the time is early, 9 o'clock.
9:30.
August 5th, you actually just had a STEM special end of the summer mixer. Let's get into details about that.
Yes. So I have an organization called STEM Social. It is a direct answer to a lot of the feelings that I had during undergrad. So again. When you graduate as a Black STEM student, you become 7% of any bachelor's degree awarded to STEM students. And I think a lot of times when people hear that I'm an engineer, they assume that, you know, the hardest part is like the academic rigor associated with it, but it was like very lonely. Didn't have a single Black professor in school. There was 4 Black students, including myself, in my class. And it was just like overall just like not the best time. So STEM Social is really aiming to be a hub for aspiring and established Black STEM professionals. And that, you know, we do that through, you know, hosting events, through mentorship, and I'm really excited about it. So we did have our first mixer. So usually I actually started off with Black women in STEM meetups, because again, you know, as a Black woman in STEM, I wanted to really create like that niche environment. But after a lot of, I'll say, positive pressure from other Black men in STEM that I knew, they really explained to me how important it is to also invite Black men into that space as well. So now I'm having meetups for Black women in STEM, because I'm going to keep that, also offering mixers as well. And it was such a good turnout. It was so cool. We had a lot of people who were able to rent out a Black-owned coffee shop in Philly, Arterial Coffee. It's one of my favorite coffee shops. If you haven't gone, definitely go. And it was a really good turnout. I was very like positively overwhelmed with like how like nice it was and how everyone like really enjoyed it. So more to come. I hope to drop fall and winter event schedule also September 1st.
So what's your goal with that? Bringing the community together, having a safe space, but like what is the end all be all with that?
The end all be all is to encourage retention in STEM. So I think a lot of people, I think it's still an issue, but like Black people within STEM, the numbers are growing. Like statistically, the numbers are growing. But unfortunately, because we're all experiencing, you know, feelings of loneliness and discrimination and, you know, a bunch of other unfortunate things, we're leaving the field. So even at, you know, my own company, I've expressed to my leadership team that I've been able to recruit, you know, a decent amount of Black employees, but then they'll end up leaving, you know, after like 1 to 3 years, right? So I hope that STEM Social, of course, is able to create that safe space, you know, able to help, you know, foster those connections within ourselves, but then also to eventually be able to encourage retention. And I have like a very large, big picture of it, and I know that I need to stay focused on what's in front of me, and it will get there. But yeah, increasing retention. I want people to stay in the field. I don't want it to be a crazy concept to have multiple Black people in the same classroom or in the same department.
So good, so good. Now, let's go into detail. How did you actually come up with the idea of being able to take this from different states, not only in Philly?
So the initial idea actually stemmed from TikTok. So I create, you know, some videos on TikTok.
Yes, you do.
And again, a lot of my STEM content started on TikTok. And I literally would just like tell, honestly, traumatic stories looking back on it, like about undergrad, and people were like, this did not happen during my undergraduate experience. And that's how it started, right? And then a lot of the people in the comments would talk about like, dang, like I really wish like, you know, you were in my state, or I really wish like there was another Black person in my class, or like I'm the only Black person in this, or I'm the only Black person here. So like it reaffirmed that this is not a unique experience. Again, unfortunate, but it's not a unique experience. And at the time I was like really close with this one girl that was also in STEM, and I was like, yo, like what if we just like hosted meetups? And she like literally looked at me crazy and was like, girl, nobody wants to meet us. I'm like, no, it's not meeting us. It's literally like helping people meet each other.
So good.
Because at least, you know, if you don't have somebody in your class, fine, but like I know somebody else in Philly that's in STEM that like I can grab drinks with, or I can grab coffee or whatever. And it started there. So then like, you know, was able to talk to my TikTok audience and like see if they were interested. They were. And then now like over like the past 2 years or so, it's just like grown.
For sure. Atlanta, New York, Philly. Like,
yeah.
I'm watching. Yes. Now, speaking of watching you, how did you get into the content creator world, from having paid sponsorships to actually being so consistent? When I say consistent, you consistent. Like, I'm giving you your flowers right now because you deserve them. Let's get into it.
So, content creating started during the pandemic, October 2020. I actually had a series on my Instagram called Being Black. It was literally an IGTV like series.
No, I remember when we were able to have them TV series.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was like a very cool feature, and they just like discontinued it. I don't know. Anyway, but I started with that, and that's actually technically where my podcast, you know, ended up developing into. And then I started with that and natural hair. I had like very, very curly hair, and people always ask me like questions and stuff. So I just kind of like started by like, oh, like I've been using this or like whatever, kind of like product reviews, I guess. And I just, you know, just kept doing it, and it was like a cool thing. And like my mentality was, if people didn't want to follow me anymore, like it was like fine, but like people, my audience is going to find me, right? And the most important thing about starting content creating is like tag the brands that you're talking about. I feel like people don't think to do that. Just tag them, like literally tag them in the actual like post itself, and then tag them in the caption as well, because they literally have teams of people that are looking through the internet to see who's talking about them.
Dropping them gems.
Literally. So like even like brands like now I'm like 3 years in almost, and it's like I'll like post a video, and then like I'll like end up scrolling through my page. I'm like, oh, I didn't post so and so, and then like literally this happened to me last week or the week before. I went back after I'd already posted something maybe like 2 weeks prior, tagged a brand, and they literally reached out to me maybe a week after asking me to use the content and pay me for the content that I'd already created. But I hadn't tagged them initially. So if I didn't go back and just tag them, then like they wouldn't have seen the video, they wouldn't have known about it, and they wouldn't have been able to, you know, offer me, you know, compensation for it. So literally tag like any brand. I'm talking like the pots and pans that you be using, or like the air fryer that you use, or like IKEA, if you have like IKEA furniture or something. Like literally there's teams that are looking for like UGC or user generated content. So yeah, then my first paid partnership was April of 2021. So October, so November, December, January, February, March, April. It's about 6 months in, I'll say, like starting content creation, and then it just kind of started rolling from there.
What's your favorite paid sponsorship?
So I would say I worked with a Black woman run research lab. That was dope. And I actually plan to work with them again. Their lab specializes in researching that unfortunately, a lot of beauty products that are geared towards Black women in particular have a lot of toxic chemicals in them. So they basically are like able to use influencers to communicate, you know, the importance of like checking the ingredient list and things like that. So I really like that. From like a beauty standpoint, I worked with Pantene, which was like dope.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it was
dropping
like,
heavy names.
Yeah, it was like
girl,
really cool.
Get it.
It was very, very cool. So I really like working with them. They had a marketing agency that they were working with, because Pantene is under Procter & Gamble. But that was like a really cool experience.
Drop 3 people that you want to work with. We manifested.
That I want to work with?
3 people.
Well,
companies. 3 companies.
3 companies. Okay, I'll say Bacardi, because I just met one of the women at the Influencer Awards the other day. I would love for a liquor brand, Bacardi in particular, because they actually own a lot of individual liquors, if people didn't know that, to, you know, fund one of like my mixers or my meetups, because buying alcohol is expensive.
Funding anything is expensive.
Literally like crazy.
We are in a recession.
No.
We need the money. Mic'd Up With Monty, I need you to get on up, like real, like.
Bacardi, if you're watching this, please. Specifically Patron. Love that.
Yeah, no, we talking about Reposada.
Okay.
Yes. We want. I did tag you.
Oh my.
Is this Morgan? Look to Morgan.
Is that actually Morgan?
It's like, it's not Morgan right. I'm cracking up. Nah, Morgan right here though.
Oh.
Morgan got feet.
Right.
Right.
We love you, Morgan.
We love you so much, Morgan.
Wow.
That's my homie.
That's really the girl.
Yeah, it is.
3 brands: Bacardi, Rec Philly, because I want to keep it in Philly.
Rec Philly?
I
know Will.
I've been trying to meet that man for literally like 6 months. He's a ghost.
You lying.
Will, if you're watching this,
Will be watching this. I interviewed Will. Girl. Will, we gonna be in Rec Philly. Well, I gotta bring my little sis.
And
I can't believe you said Rec Philly. That's good.
Because again, I would love to keep it in the family. And then also Venture Cafe Philly, which is literally like geared towards STEM professionals in Philly that I had no idea about until recently. So I want it to be collaborative. I want STEM Social's home base to be Philadelphia. Of course, we'll go other places, but I want it to be here.
Even though we're not supposed to be name dropping, name 3 of your favorite content creators, and Morgan can't be one of them.
Damn, I was about to say Morgan. No, but like real life, I really
Morgan
like her.
can be one
Okay,
of them.
Morgan, no. Again, look at her page.
Yes.
Look at the material.
Shout out to Morgan Flowers with
For
2
real.
N's.
Yeah, don't spell her name wrong, bro.
Please, child.
So Morgan Flowers for sure. There's this other girl named Rahel that I like really like. I forget what her last name is, but she's like she just be doing a lot. But I know her because she's like a fashion content creator, but she's like for like curvier girls. So she'll like, whether that be like jeans that like fit her well or like dresses and stuff. And I really like her tips. What else? One more. I want to say her name is Amina or not Amaya. I think it's maybe Amina. She does this Living Alone Diaries. Love it.
Tell the people, how do you get paid sponsorships? Give them some advice on being consistent, and how do you come up with so much content on a daily? I know that's a lot.
All right,
But
so paid partnerships. I would say, again, tagging brands. And also don't be afraid to pitch yourself as well. I also would use LinkedIn. People do not use LinkedIn at all, but you literally can find most like content creator or influencer marketing like people at companies by literally typing whatever brand influencer marketing. I'm so serious. And then people either connect
about that. I go to like Eventbrite and shit like that.
Because that's literally their job, right? So it's literally their job. So you go on LinkedIn, type in the brand, type in, what type of job title they might have, and then just look through and like connect with them on LinkedIn. I literally have connected with so many people that I've worked with on LinkedIn. And then also when you get people that reach out to you, also look them up on LinkedIn as well. So like you can kind of start that professional relationship with them. You can start that professional relationship with them as well. And it also kind of like validates you as like you're serious about content creating. Being consistent is honestly really difficult for me. So I'm so serious. So like the fact that you're like saying I'm being consistent, consistency was like my word for 2023. So the fact that you're like,
I go get paid all the time, and I'm just like, damn, I know that's the fuck right. You be doing so good. Even if you put that you're going to the gym, you put a little do-do-do-do-do, and I'm just like, okay. So the do-do-do-do-do is do-do-do-do-do. Like I'm talking about, she'll have like a couple stories, but then I'm like, oh shit, Pilates. Oh, Trader Joe's, okay, air fryer with the salmon.
No,
I'm telling you, that's why I said I'm gonna give you a flower. You're doing such an amazing job. Like I'm the older audience, so I'm 36. I'm proud of my age. So for me to be looking at you, I'm like, damn, like okay, eating healthy, she in the Pilates, getting her shit right, like. Girl, get it. Yeah.
Really
How do you edit? You edit so good. Like, for you to say you started during, I know we all over the place in this interview, y'all, but for you to say that you started during the pandemic, your editing skills is fucking crazy. Like, how?
Trial and error. I realized that a lot of the videos, I tried to figure out what videos I visually actually like to watch. And then initially you start by trying to like mimic that, and then you kind of find your own like flow. I don't know. So like realistically, I told Morgan this the other day, and I actually told a few people, because apparently my mutuals on socials know me because I always edit very quickly. So I'll record for a vlog one day, and then I'll be able to post it the next day at 11 a.m. I'm literally editing while I'm going throughout the day. So like I literally will be like recording the videos and then putting them into, I use InShot for my editing, put it into InShot, and I'll be like cutting it throughout the day. So then by the end of the day, it's already fully edited, and then the next morning when I wake up, I'll do the voiceover, and then I'll be able to post it.
She's giving a gem, y'all. How do you come up with content on a daily?
The time that I realized I wanted my content to be centered around my life rather than my life centered around my content, it became way easier. Excuse me, because I feel like a lot of content creators make everything has to be about content, when in reality, when you start making your content about yourself, so like what you naturally do in a day. So again, I do a lot of daily vlogs, or if I'm going to an event, or I don't know, doing something, I am going to make content about it, So instead of having to set aside all this extra time and making it seem like it has to be something completely separate, why not just make it about your life?
So good.
That's what I try to do.
I love it. What are 3 tips you have for the next entrepreneur that's watching out here? Because that's the end all be all go with you, right?
I don't know. That's my hot take. I like my 9 to 5.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
It's so stable and secure.
Okay.
And I get money every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know. Right now, I don't want to go full time, but I think in the future potentially I could. I just have to see. I have to really nurture STEM Social, because I think that's where I would want it to actually be, as opposed to being a full-time content creator. I'd want to go full-time with STEM Social. So I don't know. We'll see. Entrepreneurs, if people think your idea is crazy, most likely it's a good idea.
Good.
I would say if you're not comfortable speaking about what you're interested in, then you can't expect other people to speak about it on your behalf. Because I feel like sometimes you can get at least I got very uncomfortable talking about stuff I was interested in, or even the fact that I created content, or the videos that I was doing. But once I started talking about STEM Social events in particular, people started talking about it on my behalf, and it just became a thing. So if you have an idea and you're really passionate about it, don't be afraid to show people that you're passionate about it. Because realistically, making fun of somebody that's trying is lame as fuck. So if anyone is trying to make fun of you,
at least you're trying. That's one thing I can say. You put yourself out there, there's really nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Trial and error. Fuck it.
So literally, if somebody's trying to make fun of you for trying to do something or trying to be consistent, whether that be working out in your entrepreneurial endeavor, again, it speaks more towards about them as opposed to what you're trying to do. So try not to get discouraged about stuff like that.
Now, shout out to you. I'm very proud of you. It's a good time. No, I'm playing. Shout out to Peach. No, wait, how do they do when it's a commercial?
Thank you so much for joining us today at Sweet Peach Studios, sponsored by Sweet Peach Gems. We are over here 4558 Worth Street, and we got an event coming up on 1717 Hancock Street at the Sculpture Courtyard. Harm reduction awareness, fundraising, art, food, music. It's going to be a good time.
Follow me. I am Camille Smith on literally everything: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that good stuff, and the Being Black podcast, and STEM Social if you're feeling a little spicy.
Shout out to Monty. We would not be doing this right now. Okay? She's the one that brings us all together. North Philly Oprah.
You heard
in the house.
North Philly Oprah. Yeah, okay. Look at you.
Get into it.
And then